My name is Tim Marriott, and I'm very proud to have played the part of Gavin Featherly, who rose to the great heights of being deputy manager at the Whitbury Newtown Leisure Centre alongside Gordon Brittas. Well, that's a good story. I'd been seen for a couple of other things at the BBC sitcoms that I got quite close to without quite getting over the line. And I got suggested by another producer to Mike Stevens, our director and producer, who called me in for an interview for this small part, but a running character in the sitcom. And I thought the interview went absolutely terribly. I thought it was awful, and even had a laugh about it with Mike about how terribly I'd read for it, and in those days we didn't have mobile phones, so I went out to a phone box in the road outside Television Centre, which took me a couple of minutes to get down, from the 5th floor or whatever it was, down to reception, and then over the road to the telephone box. Phoned my agents and said, "Thank you so much for getting me in to see that. Don't count the chickens. Don't think I've got that one. I think I hope in hell of getting that." And she replied with, "Oh, well, that's interesting because he's already rang enough of the part." So I don't quite know how it happened, but it did, and I'm very glad that it did, because it ran for, as you mentioned, a long time, and I was in every episode for 7 years, and then it was a joy to do, and it was a joy to work alongside people like Harriet and Russell and Jill and Julia and Pippa and Harriet and of course Chris. And Julia. It was fantastic to work with Mike. It was fantastic, all those people to work alongside them was fantastic, and to be part of such a successful show was great. Seems a long time ago now. I'm glad it's still remembered. Yeah, we all the locations were, well, the leisure centre itself was in Ringwood in Hampshire, and Mike used to be very funny about it. Our producer, he used to say it was our 3-week holiday every year. We'd go down there and spend 3 weeks filming down there. And the first year we filmed, we stayed in what I think was a travel lodge or something like that on the Ringwood roundabout, which wasn't particularly exciting. But then after that, after the show became a little bit more successful, we were very kindly put up in, I think it was called the Royal Norfolk Hotel in Bournemouth itself, and it really did feel like a working holiday. It was fantastic to go down there in September each year and spend 3 weeks down there. So it was all in and around Bournemouth and Ringwood, and the leisure centre itself was Ringwood Leisure Centre. Yes. That's correct. Each week, what we would do is the routine was we would go down to Bournemouth and do our location filming for about 3 weeks in September, and then we would come in to rehearsal studios in North Acton, and then once a week we would come in, and it would be like doing live theatre. Once a week we would do the interior scenes, all in a studio and Television Centre in Shepherd's Bush, in front of a live audience. So it really was like the old style, what they used to call weekly rep, of coming in and doing a new show every week. It's quite hairy, actually, quite scary, but enormous fun to do. And of course, you get that live experience with having a live audience there of what works and what doesn't, and what's funny and what isn't, and what needs tweaking and what doesn't. It was great to be able to do that. And I'm not sure that every show nowadays has that opportunity, but we did. It was real old school stuff. Rehearsed at BBC studios, recorded in BBC studios, all by BBC staff. I mean, nowadays things tend to get franchised out or whatever, and get farmed out to other production companies. But we were all in-house, and that was terrific. And to be able to go up to the staff bar afterwards and go, "Oh, got away with that one," another week, was great. It was a really nice rhythm to be in for about 3 months of each year. It was for 7 years. It was fantastic to do that. Well, as I'm sure everybody watching this will know, I was one half of Tim and Gavin, and at the time I really don't think we appreciated Russell, who played Tim, and myself, perhaps appreciated how groundbreaking that was, to be part of an openly gay couple on primetime television. I think possibly certainly the first within a sitcom, and for the humour of it not to be derived from prancing around being camp, but the humour derived from Brittas not getting what we were about and who we were, and that was looking back at it, that was really fantastic to be a part of that, and to work with Russell, who to this day I'm tremendously fond of Russell. He's a fantastic actor and a fantastic person to know. He's a lovely man, and it was great to work alongside him in that role. And as it developed, once the initial joke had passed, we were allowed to build on those characters, and I became the more ambitious of the two, which he really resented, because he was kind of like almost like the union rep, very anti-Brittas, whereas I was trying to climb the greasy pole of advancement, and eventually the program allowed me to put on long trousers for series 6 and 7 as I became an assistant manager, and I think if I remember right, the later episodes, Tim ended up running being a chef in the kitchens, and there's a fantastic episode that some people might have seen, the Christmas episode, where it fast forwards into the future, and really opposite of the moment. So I'm playing this rather ghastly politician going around campaigning for re-election, and he's now a famous TV chef. And there's a really nice scene at the beginning of the episode where we're bickering between the two of us, and it was really wonderful to be able to develop the characters in that way, and have that relationship, that kind of loving but bickering relationship played out on. It would have been great to have done more with that, to those two characters, and taken them into another setting perhaps, and done more with them. As I said at the time, I don't think we appreciated how really fortunate we were with the whole program. Actually, an incredible opportunity for all of us to be involved in a show that I think peaked at about 13 million viewers at one point. It had tremendous following, and huge success with it, and we were all very young at the time, and I think we all probably thought that we were going to go on to even bigger and better things, and actually that was instead of what we should have done is just really enjoy the moment and get the most. Certainly speaking for myself, I think there, I look back at it now as a really golden time. It was, and wish that I'd with hindsight, had appreciated it more at the time. Well, you get quite close to people. It's really strange, because you come in, and for 2-3 months of the year, your closest buddies and closest friends, and all tied together, and then you all go off and do your other things for 9 months of the year, and don't necessarily get to see each other. And then it was lovely sort of coming back together again for each series, and then we'd be. I mean, the old saying, the old cliche is, we were like a family, so, a loving family some of the time, a bickering family some of the time, but generally speaking, at heart, we were all dedicated to the show itself, to what we were doing, and I think that showed. There was a lot of camaraderie between the characters, and between us as individuals, and you look at what some of those people have done, and some of the cast have done, and things that they've been in, and it was tremendous to be working with them. The wonderful Harriet Thorpe, who is in Ab Fab, and Pippa, who went on to Green Wing, and lots of other stuff, and Judy Flynn, who's done lots of stuff. I mean, really great to work with those people, and yeah, and I say Russell, I've seen a bit of since. We've caught up with each other in recent years. I was doing a stage show in London recently, and the first person to come and see me and to be very kind about it and buy me a drink after the show was Russell, and that's fantastic. He's a lovely chap. In favorite character to play. Oh gosh, I don't know. I quite liked playing Gavin. I was very happy playing Gavin. I don't know. I really thought about it. What an interesting question. I'm not sure I'd have wanted to play Colin very much. I'm not sure I wanted to put on the pussy spots and all the rest of it. I don't think I'd have been very good playing any of the female roles. It would have been interesting putting on the costume for that. Brittas himself, I think that's iconic, and only Chris could play that. So I don't think there is another character I could have played or would have wanted to play. Gavin was spot on for me, and that relationship with Tim was brilliant, and something to be very proud of, and something I always will be proud of. Oh goodness, you're really pushing me. My favorite character. Do you know what? I loved Jill Greenacre, who played Linda. Was always so bubbly and lovely, and positive on set, in character, out of character. She's lovely. I mean, I've talked about Russell quite a lot. He played Tim. Mike was brilliant, playing Mike Burns, playing Colin, and of course Harriet. I mean, how could you ever forget Carol with a baby in the drawer? She's and she is, to this day, she is a wonderfully generous, wholehearted performer and person. And I mean, all of them, they're all terrific. Pippa Hayward as the mad Mrs. Brittas, tremendous, really. They're all favourites. Sorry to be a bit of a cliche there, but they're genuinely speaking, they're also different too. I mean, all the characters are so different. I think that's and all the people within it, the people playing those roles were also different. It was a real mixture, and the better for it, I think. Yeah, no, I do remember that one. Yes, that was fantastic because, as you say, you could say very kindly, it was all about me. The title of the episode was all about me, but I wasn't in it for most of the episode because the episode was about me being RIP, having disappeared, and it was more of a showcase really for Russell because he was bereft and distraught, as you would be, thinking that his partner had disappeared. So it was a fantastic episode for him too. I think what I remember most about that, I remember Mike Burns as Colin standing over the grave, like a spaghetti western moment, chewing a cheroot, saying "Goodbye, my friend," and that was a cracking moment. And then he hacks at the water main, and the coffin sputs up in the air at the end of the episode. I thought that was a very clever episode and a very funny episode. I don't remember it as being as late in the series as that, but it was. It's a real honour to have an episode named after my character, even though I wasn't in half of it. I remember that the reason why they all thought I was gone was because I was distraught about some sort of copyright deal about a tape that I had that I'd illegally recorded, and British were going to get me into terrible trouble over copyright. And so I was so depressed that I went for a swim in the sea, and I had to get onto this inflatable boat powered by potatoes that Colin had invented, and it storms off the beach at great speed with me clinging onto it. And I remember that was a really cold day. And the sea was blooming cold, and the whole thing felt pretty bloody scary, because actually what they did was that they towed the raft off the beach, and it did go off and a hell of a lick. And when you see me hanging onto that rope for dear life, I was hanging onto that rope for dear life. I did not want to get thrown overboard. That's a cracking episode to make, and I'm glad you remember it. Thank you for that. I think some of the early ones were very, very clever. I remember I think in series 1 being harpooned to a door, having a spear through my arm. Who would have thought of running around a leisure centre with a harpoon and spears and all sorts of really bizarre things happened in some of those episodes. Obviously, the big explosion episodes where I think a couple of times managed to blow up the whole centre. That was wonderful to watch the special effects team making those episodes. Actually, blowing up a building on an industrial site was incredible. There was a scene where British manages to get a World Peace Day. He manages to electrocute the whole crowd. That was cracking. I think probably the favourite moment would be when the water tank lands on Brittas at the end of the last, I think it's the last episode of series 5, and he gets crushed under this huge water tank. Why did we laugh? I mean, it's just, I don't know. But that was very cleverly done, and a wonderful episode to be a part of. And in terms of my character, I think there's a scene as an episode which is very popular with fans of the programme, And I can't remember what the title of the episode is, but it's when a girlfriend of Gavin's from his past, when he was trying to do the right thing, as he saw it at the time, comes back and turns out to be a mad arsonist. And that was I remember that was a very popular episode and great fun to do. And I wish I could remember the name of the actress who played that role, who was very, very good. But that was good fun too. But so many moments, it's hard to choose. Uh, well, it was great because I mean he was very much captain of the ship. He was very much captain of the ship on screen and captain of the ship off screen. And the thing is, off screen he was a little bit better at it than he was on screen. I got on very well with Chris. He was obviously again looking at. I keep talking about appreciation. You know, looking back at it, I probably didn't appreciate just how much he was carrying, how much of the show was on his shoulders, and you know, older and wiser now, looking back at that, I think what tremendous pressure that must have been. But it never showed. You know, he was always on top of it. I mean, just silly little things like learning the lines every week. You know, he was absolutely brilliant at that. And if you ever did get it wrong, the blooper reels of his were second to none. He's such a talented and gifted comedian, and the way he could go off into different characters. Of course, he used to do Spitting Image. He used to do the voice of Spitting Image, so he's very good at taking everybody off. So if he ever anything did go wrong, he was brilliant at reducing everybody to fits of laughter. That's just a really good way of relaxing everybody. As I say, we were doing these weekly rep type shows every week, which obviously created, you know, there's a bit of tension around when people are a bit nervous about that. He was very good at relaxing everybody and making everybody feel, even if he didn't feel it himself, that he was totally on top of it. So I say he was a very good captain of the ship. Yes. I have lots of memories of working on the set of the Brittas Empire. I think, I don't know what particularly stands out. I think just really the friendship of the cast, and that feeling of being part of that team, and not just the cast, the cast and crew. I think it was in many ways an extraordinary show to work on. I've worked on many shows since, and I don't think there's been that sense of camaraderie between crew and cast on any show that I've been on like there was with us. The crew were very much part of, by the crew I mean the technical staff, very much part of what we were about. Because so much, of course, was reliant on them, because a lot of special effects. In the 1990s, things weren't perhaps quite as easy to do then as they are now. And those kind of guys were really instrumental in making the series what it was, and that was great. So I think really happy moments, just hanging out with everybody. Really, I'm a social creature, and it was nice to be social with everybody. It was great. Thank you. It's a wonderful trip down memory lane, and you know I've done many different things since. I actually got out of the business altogether about 3 years after Brittas ended. I took a teaching job and went into education for 17 years. I was out of the business, and now I'm back doing stage work, theatre work, and it's lovely looking back at those years. We had a reunion, as I'm sure you know. I think 3 or 4 years ago now, we had a reunion, and we did an in person at Ringwood Leisure Centre, which was lovely to see everybody, and we had another one which we did online quite recently, and it was great that people included. That was Andre Bernard, who was in the first series of Brittas and then unable to do anymore, which is a great shame because she's a very talented actor, and she, of course, people will know from Only Fools and Horses and Hollyoaks and things like that. So it's lovely to see her again, as well as everybody else. And then John Carrigan, who I don't think ever had a line in the piece, but played Patrick and was in loads of episodes without ever actually having a speaking role. And he was on those reunions as well. It was lovely to see him. So it was great to catch up with everybody, and it's great to have this opportunity to look back at what was really a very special time for all of us. So thank you.